With the stage of early adopters behind us, the EV market is cooling down and automakers are now figuring out ways how to attract average customers. For them, EVs are still way too expensive and inconvenient, so Ford has to come up with an idea to offer something smaller and cheaper, an EV for the masses. On paper, that seems like a good strategy, but in reality, there are too many obstacles that make us doubt that this could turn out as a successful project. Moreover, we have found 7 reasons why Ford's new plan for small cheap EV will fail. Number 7. Growth is slowing down. With the average EV purchase going over $50,000, it doesn't surprise that the EV market is cooling down. The market is still growing, but at a significantly slower pace than most car makers and experts expected. Not so long ago, the year-over-year growth was over 90%, but the last year ended with a significant drop to 47%. Then there are projections for 2024 suggesting the market go up to 32%. That's still pretty impressive growth, which could lead EVs to take 9% of the total new car market. The problem is that both car makers and the government expected more. Car makers counted on much higher volume that would eventually lead to the point of making a profit on EVs, which still isn't the case. On the other hand, Biden's administration doesn't give up on insisting on the new plan of EVs taking 2/3 of the new car market by 2032. To keep up with the plan, Ford has finally decided to work on something that could potentially be accepted by the masses: a small and affordable EV. The only problem is that the current slow-paced growth could easily turn into a slowdown by the time the new EV hits the market. The Blue Oval Company already cut down on the production of the F-150 Lightning and increased capacity for the production of gas-powered trucks like the Ranger and Bronco, which is quite indicative. Some customers may be attracted by affordable prices, but there are still too many deal-breaking aspects of electric cars that can be compensated only by affordable prices. There are things like range and charging anxiety, as well as reliability issues, as the latest survey from Consumer Reports showed that EVs cause 80% more problems than gas-powered cars. Number 6. Ford is losing money on EVs. Just like any other car maker, including Tesla, Ford is losing money on EVs, and it's losing a lot of it. The latest reports show that the Blue Oval Company lost $47,000 on every EV it sold in the last quarter of 2023, which led to a total loss of $4.7 billion on electric cars in 2023 alone. Moreover, the company expects to lose even more in 2024, around $5.5 billion. Simply said, car makers still struggle to optimize production and make it cost-effective. On the other hand, they're forced to offer EVs with massive discounts just to keep things rolling. In such a set of circumstances, we don't know how an affordable EV, which is supposed to cost around $25,000, can turn things around. To make such a vehicle profitable, Ford will have to make so many compromises. It could compromise on quality, technology, or a third other thing, and with the current pace of the technological advance, we don't see how such an affordable EV can surpass gas-only and hybrid cars in terms of convenience. Jim Farley already talked about the company's secret team that's been working on the new affordable EV platform and stated that the main focus is on cost and efficiency, which gives us enough reason to worry about the quality of the final product, considering that Ford has already been among the least reliable car makers on the market. Number 5. Can Ford really compete with Tesla and Chinese car makers? All of our EV teams are ruthlessly focused on cost and efficiency in our EV products because the ultimate competition is going to be the affordable Tesla and the Chinese OEMs. This is what Farley recently stated when he talked about the Skunkworks team that was formed a while ago to develop an affordable platform. The logical question is, does Ford really have the capacity to compete with such companies in terms of cost effectiveness? On one side, there's Tesla, the world's leading EV maker and a company that takes nearly 60% of the US EV market. With such sales volume in mind, as well as the technology it has, as well as the experience in making EVs that spans over a decade, we're not sure if Ford can still offer the same level of quality for the same money. The Austin-based company is also aware that the stage of early adopters looking for luxurious and high-performance EVs is over, so it also announced an affordable $25,000 EV. The problem is that Ford won't compete with legacy car makers in this aspect, but rather with new names in the business, including those coming from the East. There's already a solid number of established EV makers such as BYD, Geely, and MG that are taking over the global EV market with their attractive prices. And if we consider significantly lower labor costs, as well as billions that the Chinese government has been pumping into these companies, we don't see how Ford can offer an equally good product for the same asking price as its Chinese counterparts. Number 4. UAW contract. While Ford is figuring out a new strategy for massive electrification, which is all about making EVs more affordable, there aren't many things that currently go in favor of this plan. We already talked about the massive loss on EVs, so big that the company was forced to delay $12 billion of EV investments to save capital. But that's just the beginning, as additional costs are coming from other sides too. One of them is the labor cost. You're probably familiar with the background of last year's UAW strike, so we won't bother you with details. The point is that the new contract between UAW and Ford has finally brought some wage increase, around 33% over 4.5 years. Of course, a wage increase means an increase in production costs that, according to some estimations, is now around $900 per vehicle in Ford's case. This means that Ford is now making less profit on its internal combustion vehicles such as the F-Series and Explorer, which already reflected in lower than expected earnings in the last quarter of the last year, with a total profit of $813 million instead of the expected $866.5 million. And if we consider that this is the main source of funding for EV development, it becomes pretty clear that designing an affordable and profitable small EV brings way more challenges than expected. Number 3. Marshall Plan issues. The Marshall Plant was one of the most important parts of that $12 billion investment we just talked about. It is now facing big revisions and plans. The original plant was to produce 400,000 batteries a year, and now that number drops to 230,000. Also, according to the new plan, only around 1,700 workers will be appointed instead of the initially planned 2,500. Except for lower production capacity and lower employment, this part of the revision isn't all that problematic. What actually raised questions was Ford's announcement to license technology from contemporary Amperex technology company, a company that's been accused of being affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party. But despite instant congressional inquiry, Ford still expects to qualify for subsidies under the Inflation Reduction Act. Without these incentives, there's no room for any hope for the new affordable EV becoming successful. Number 2. Hybrids are the sweet spot. As the process of massive electrification is getting complicated, more and more people are turning to hybrids as a more rational transitional step towards zero emissions. Hybrids are way cheaper, way more reliable, and way more convenient to own than electric cars, so it doesn't surprise that the growth has been pretty impressive lately. Of course, Toyota is still dominating the segment with nearly 700,000 hybrids sold in 2023. But Ford has been performing pretty well too, thanks to a couple of hybrids in its lineup. Last year we saw a 25% jump, and now experts estimate a 40% growth for 2024. More and more people are becoming aware of the strengths of classic hybrid setups, especially when it comes to reliability and the ease of use. Furthermore, they offer a lot in terms of practicality. Just take the Maverick Hybrid as an example. With its practical pickup layout, can Ford design a $25,000 EV that's as spacious and as practical, not to mention convenient? We're not so sure. Number 1. Ford is still far away from producing affordable EVs. Development takes time, and that's probably Ford's worst enemy, because if you take a closer look at Farley's words about the secret project, which is about developing a new affordable EV platform, there's no word about the time frame, which clearly indicates that although in development, the new architecture is still far from the final stage. We presume that Ford plans to build more than one vehicle on this platform, so there are probably a lot of things to be done, especially when it comes to the adoption of the latest tech goodies. With all that in mind, it's obvious that Ford needs more time. Meanwhile, rivals like Tesla and Chinese companies probably have the capacity to roll out such vehicles at a much quicker pace. In other words, by the time Ford launches the new $25,000 EV, it may be too late. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.